there at the side. I'm going to send it to the schedule.
Okay, can we make a start, please? Thank you all for coming, councillors and co-optees. The agenda is, first of all, apologies for absence.
Councillor Heaven is away, Councillor Graham has family commitment, and Councillor Marie is at work.
Item 2, declaration of disclosable pecuniary interests and other significant interests. Anything to declare? Item 3, minutes. To note the minutes of the Planning Committee meeting held on the 5th of October and consider any matters arising from those minutes not covered elsewhere on this agenda. Everyone had a chance to read those minutes? Councillor Carter?
Oh yeah, I was going to move the minutes.
Seconded, is that approved? All in favour? So those minutes are approved. Item 4, terms of reference. To receive and note the terms of reference for the Planning Committee. Resolve 21/7/22. So those are attached to this agenda. Any comments on those terms of reference? I think we've got 3 co-optees to this committee, which is Town Team, welcome to Carol, John, welcome to John, and one from the Chamber of Commerce, but I'm not clear. Perhaps Councillor Friend in the back could answer if the Chamber is going to nominate anyone.
Yeah, they will do.
They will. Good. Any other comments on the terms of reference?
I'd like to move them.
Are happy there?
Adopt the terms of reference.
Okay. I think we're just receiving and noting.
Ah, right.
So if you're happy with that, okay. 5, public right to speak. 15-minute session is set aside at this stage of the meeting to enable members of the public to speak. Written notice of the desire to exercise this right to speak and of the topic to be addressed must be given to the Chief Executive prior to 9 AM on the Monday before the meeting. No request to speak. Okay. Item 6, planning applications. Application plans and papers may be viewed via the Dover District Council website. Use of a computer in the Town Council's office is possible by arrangement. First one is reference 22/01228. Location Salutation, Knight Rider Street, Sandwich, CT13 9EW. The proposal is change of use and conversion of the main house to a single dwelling and outbuildings to 4 self-contained holiday lets with parking. I think my first observation is obviously it's a shame that this building is no longer a hotel and that gardens are not open all year round to the public, but any comments on this application?
Oh yeah, there was just obviously I went through it with a fine-tooth comb, and apart from the heritage, it's just a shame because obviously it's Grade 1 listed, and although the alterations are mainly internal, I hope they're not taking down any substantial walls or anything that's a part of the fabric there. But the one thing I would like to say before proposing to accept this planning application is that there was some guidance, conditions from the Environment Agency that they should adopt the floodplain review that had been undertaken. So, you know, I'd be prepared to adopt this planning application on the recommendation that the Environment Agency's floodplain review had been adopted.
Colin, I agree with you, it's a shame that the building can't be open and the grounds can't be open, but I do think that the fact that we have someone there who appears to be really willing to take on the house and renovate the house and deal with the 4 buildings outside is to Sandwich's advantage in many ways, and maybe at some point, even if it's the Little Gardens of Sandwich, that garden could be opened if that's what they wish to do, but at least it's not falling apart.
Yeah. John, do you have any comments?
Well, yeah, I think this person must be, willing to invest quite a considerable amount, because as I understand it, the inside was made up of 3 separate dwellings belonging to the 3 old brothers who had the house built in the first place. And that's, I think, been a lot of the problem inside, that it can't be used for things because of the way it's divided up. So if somebody's actually making this into one dwelling, I think that is certainly to the benefit. It's an iconic property, obviously, beautiful house. And I echo Carol's sentiments. Let's hope that eventually we might be able to have a look at a wonderful garden.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I was just something, I mean, it always was a private house. It's only been a hotel for about 10 years, isn't it, 15 years since the people had it, part of the people had it. And a lot of the accommodation was staff accommodation. They had cooks there, they had gardeners there, so it was separate units. I think it's only one sort of thing, it's one of the little cottages you should put a staircase in, don't they? But I'm fully so happy that someone's going to take this massive great job on and renovate it. And as for the garden, I think the flood thing was mainly where the garden got flooded, which wasn't, because the house is higher than the garden. So, and it was always supposed to be Gertrude Jekyll, but someone apparently looked through Gertrude Jekyll's garden diaries, and someone said she never actually come to this one.
It's dubious, yeah.
Dubious, yeah. So,
When it first got permission to renovate the gardens, I understand they had some heritage funding to renovate them on the condition that the gardens were open. So I don't know how that stands now.
Good point.
And maybe that's something, I absolutely support it going back to family home and everything. But I thought some of the funding got was to keep the gardens open to the public, and that needs to be investigated, I suggest. It could be that was settled when they were sold, when the property was sold, and the money was paid back to the heritage, whatever lottery fund it was.
yeah, I don't think that affects the planning, does it? That's something to
No,
do
but
with
it's just something.
Because I remember years
I
ago,
don't think it's probably anything to do with us.
we give grants to the King's Lodgings, and they're supposed to open that.
Yeah.
They're publicly not allowed into the King's Lodgings, so that's all good work by years ago. So.
That's the Moorhouse.
I see it as a step forward, I recommend.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the parking situation will be neutral. The holiday lets to some extent replace the bedrooms. You know,
The staff places.
there's no external changes. So is someone prepared to support?
Support.
Support.
Yeah.
All those in favour?
We already let us bed and breakfast those places.
And I think so that the resolution is support, but with the proviso that the Environment Agency's concerns about flooding are recognised.
That's true. One of the saving graces I didn't mention about this was the consultant that they've actually used, Clive Alexander. He used to be the conservation manager for DDC many years ago, so that's quite a saving grace that he was the consultant on the design statement. So.
Right, next one is reference 22/01251, location Cope Park, Ramsgate Road, Sandwich, CT 139NW. Proposal removal of condition 3 of Planning Commission 21/01775, installation of 35mm lattice communications mast, antennas and ground-based apparatus. Any comments on this?
Yeah, I had some. Yeah, sorry. On this one, number one, I think everybody should realise, if you've read through the details, that it's not actually going to be for the phone signal, so it's not going to increase the capacity of the phone signal in Sandwich or the local area. It's just for agricultural data between Holland and London, so it's not actually got any advantage for Sandwich in it being put up there. The other issues were, and I don't know if perhaps John Hennessy may expand on this, but there was quite a few matters that were raised by Historic England about an impact assessment being done so that the views or the vistas from the Richborough Roman Fort were considered. And what they said was, Historic England said that they wanted to see some mock-ups to show what the tower would look like when it's up, as to what it would, the view or vistas would be from the Richborough Roman Fort. So, and although this is quite some distance, all that area is of great historic interest and archaeological interest, which was mentioned in all the in all the heritage and design statement there. So I would just like to say that I'd like to see that the actual tower didn't have any impact upon the Richmond Roman fort before I could actually vote on this myself. I don't know if John Hensey's got any.
I have an engraving by Nathaniel Buck, who was a very famous engraver of scenes in England. It's about the mid part of the 18th century, and it's taken from inside Richmond Roman fort. It's looking down on Sandwich, and you can see the churches and everything right the way through to the bay. So there's quite a vista through there, and obviously we've had all sorts of things. We've got food digesters, we've got Discovery Park, we've got windmills that have a turn round, and all sorts of stuff. So.
I mean, it's only a few 100 metres from the log burning tower,
The
chimneys.
non-log burning town,
Yeah.
right?
And the new food facility. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure how much this would add to that landscape desecration, if you like.
It did just mention, obviously, that Historic England said
Yeah,
that they would
it said it,
prefer
yeah,
to see.
okay.
Yeah.
Any other views on this?
Well, just say it's a lattice tower, so it should be quite a good
No.
a pole tower, but it's, I think that was the thing, and also if you're on the Ramsgate Road, it didn't reach the vista of it, so I think Historic England didn't like it, I think, before we took that.
So is there a proposal on this one?
So I just want to point out that obviously last time Sandwich Town Council didn't make a response on this.
No,
So whatever we're deciding tonight will be our first initial response, and whether this goes ahead or not. So, as I said, Mr. Chairman, I wouldn't be able to vote on this without seeing that further heritage impact statement myself. So I'll be abstaining tonight on this one.
So does anyone want to make a proposal to object because of the impact of the impact statement? Or do you want to make no objection or to support it, but with a proviso that the impact statement be considered by DDC?
Well, yeah, because like you say, when you look at Richmond Fort now, you've got the wood burning thing there, and you've got visors there,
Yeah.
this would just be slightly to the left of that, wouldn't it? What's it, 35 metres high, what's that? About 100 foot.
I think we should agree to support it with the proviso that has been put forward by Councillor Carson.
Yeah.
So you're proposing that, Councillor Fox. Anyone second that?
Yes.
Councillor Morehouse, all those in favour?
I'll abstain from
You
voting.
abstain, okay. So we support, subject to the proviso that the view, is it Historic England?
That's right.
Their views about the
Um,
visual impact assessment.
Yeah,
being
visual
taken
impact
into account.
assessment on that.
Okay, fine, thank you. Number 3 is reference 21/00658, locations land south of Ash Road, Sandwich. Proposal part retrospective, change of use of the land to 8 pitch, gypsy and traveller site with associated development including improved access, hard standing installation of package treatment plant and fencing. Note that Woodensborough Parish Council have already objected to this formally.
We turned it down before we, I think we should follow it.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just going to say, Mr. Chairman, this was something. It's upsetting really, because Dover District do need these places, traveller sites. They do need traveller site places, but it's just unfortunate that this one has been taken up by themselves. It's not been designated as a traveller site, so obviously they're going for retrospective, which is of course, you know, a concern. But the other concerns are that the Environment Agency had an objection because of the flood risk there, and as I say, Woodensborough Parish Council have rejected it on flood risk issues as well. And I don't know if you said, Councillor, but
Yeah, we rejected it before.
Yeah, we refused it before.
Rejected it again.
I think there's also an issue about the proposed sewage treatment
Yeah.
facility, that it's only, someone told me it was only useful for a single house. And we're talking about 8 static
Yeah.
plus
And
mobile.
then they're running water there, it's just
Yeah.
taking water, isn't it? So it just build up mosquito. If it was in the running stream or into the river, but it's not.
No.
I was speaking to the DDC officers, this site doesn't have permission. I think at the moment there's a kind of prefab and about 4 or 5 mobile static caravans on it.
I've been out.
Yeah.
The other issue as well is, of course, there was an issue raised by Kent Highways about the
Visibility.
access and exit from the site, visibility, which if any vehicles were exiting, the vehicle trying to get into the site would have to be sat on the ground there.
Yeah.
So, because that's a national speed limit, 60 miles an hour, it's a danger.
So do we have a proposal to object,
Recommend strongly object.
strongly object to this application, retrospective? Seconder,
I'd second that.
all those in favour? Okay, that's carried.
Shame, really.
Next one is 22/01377. Location Exchange House, 18 Upper Strand Street, Sandwich, CT13 9EE. Proposal replacement windows and doors to front and rear elevations.
I support.
Support.
I'll second that.
Second. I think this isn't, although it's in the conservation area, it's a fairly modern.
Yeah.
1987.
Yeah, it's like for like. We all those in favour of that?
Yeah.
So that's support, strongly support or support? Support.
Strongly support little days.
Okay. Next one is reference 22/01401. Location 37 High Street, Sandwich, CT139EG. Proposal increase headroom to height 4.4 to 5 metres over the garden of number 39 by removing branches up to 6 centimetres diameter and arising at up to height 6 metres of 1 copper beech, subject to tree preservation order number 8 of 2000.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, obviously, this is needed to go ahead, so I'd support this going ahead.
Okay.
But with the proviso that it complies with the schedule of works that's been drawn up, so that will guide whoever's undertaking the work as to what work can be done to the tree, because it's got a TPO on it. So it's very, very important that that schedule of works is maintained and complied with.
Okay.
But I would propose going ahead with this.
Yeah, because there's a beautiful tree in the wrong place.
So
It's a
you
little garden.
proposing support?
Yeah.
So I'm proposing support.
Seconding Councillor Franklin, all those in favour? Thank you. Next one is reference 22/01383. Location White Mill Creek Aqua Park, Ash Road, Sandwich, CT13 9JB. Proposal variation of condition 7, existing vehicular UK power access 8, existing vehicular access delivery vehicles, and 23, extending hours 6 AM to 10 AM. Planning Commission DOV/20/01447. Development comprising engineering and excavation works, including land reprofiling to facilitate the creation of a shallow artificial lake for water sports activities with associated facilities, including reception building with ancillary uses, cable pulley system, inflatable aqua park and storage uses, parking, landscaping and formation of a new site access road from Ash Road, application number 673. Oh, that's a bit long-winded.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I can update this committee because obviously I went out there and did the opening of this, and I spoke to the 2 owners about the site, and I can tell you that the condition 7 is just purely to have an access gate from the Ash Road for UK Power Networks to undertake works in an emergency, because obviously they've got a big draw off of the network there, so that's really required for emergency works. The condition 8 was access for delivery vehicles, that hadn't been included in the original plans, that the delivery vehicles could come in to the rear of what is now the reception and cafe, and it just seems sensible that the delivery vehicles are able to come into the back of the reception and cafe. And condition 23, extending the hours for open swimming, is because it's become an exceptionally popular place for people to undertake swimming in the pools. So they were doing swimming from 8 o'clock in the morning to allow people to swim before the actual wakeboarding is done. But it's become so popular now, that's what they're asking, is just for people to actually swim in the pool there. So, and then just following on that, the excavation works are actually to build a smaller version of what they've got for children and people with a sort of more unsure disability, because the current equipment they've got there is more for professionals, but there's quite a large number of children and amateurs, I would like to say, that want to use it. So they're building a smaller training pool for children and youngsters. So I would support the application.
I'd like to second this. I think it's a fantastic facility for Sandwich. People are driving from miles away. There is a hope that they might stop off in Sandwich as well. We don't know, but in respect to all our visitor information stuff is up there to encourage them to come into Sandwich as well. I've heard of people driving from London to use it. It's a fantastic facility. We're lucky to have it. I support it.
I can remember when this first came to this committee, there was quite a fuss about it from some quarters, but it seems to be well managed and the landscaping has been good.
So they're still doing it, but
I'm
you
sure in
a
few years it will blend in.
Can I just add that they're actually, sorry Carol, they're employing 30 people, students and full-timers and all that on the site. So it's got 30 people working there already. With the extension pool that they're building, they're going to need to recruit more staff. So,
I did speak to someone the other day who said they go to the one in Leigh and sometimes go into the town after. So the town benefits from the, so I don't know if that's any evidence that that's happening here, but perhaps it will.
Can we just ask, or that the actual site around that facility is cleaned and tidied on a regular basis, because it is a mess.
They're still working on it.
They might still be working on it, but actually that doesn't stop the people who are passing by or going in, throwing bottles and goodness knows what plastic all around the outside, and the grass verges being sort of turned up. And it doesn't look very good when you're approaching Sandwich, because you're coming in from that way. And you know, longer term, I'm sure that those facilities will all blend in, but there is an entrance stage, especially as they're now going to build yet another piece, so we're going to have more mud and more dirt. So I'd just like to see that something is, someone is speaking to them about keeping the site and the surrounding site clean and tidy, please.
So do we have a proposal?
yeah, I proposed that we strongly support.
Strongly support. With can we make a comment about management or?
I think that's
No,
not
really.
part of the planning commission.
It's a
I think that has
separate
to be
issue.
done separately.
Yeah. So strongly support, all those in favour?
Yeah.
Right, thank you. That's the end of the applications. Item number 7 is local plan. To discuss and consider Council's local plan regulation 19 submission. I presume most people have been to the session today in the gallery. The plan has now been published. The deadline for comments is the 9th of December. And I think the intention is that we discuss this at our full council meeting on the 29th of November. The Chief Executive has sent me the copy of Sandwich Town Council's response to the draft local plan, which was in March 21. That was the Regulation 18, so we're now at the final Regulation 19 stage. I don't know how you want to progress this, but my view would be to maybe dust off the previous comments, which are fairly comprehensive, and submit a new draft to the council meeting on the 29th.
I think Councillor Friend.
Just making a suggestion, Mr. Chairman. It's a huge document that's going to have a massive impact on Sandwich for the next 20 years. It may warrant a extraordinary council meeting to discuss this item in isolation, giving comprehensive, robust discussion about the fine details included, especially the policy documents that are going to be critical to.
Yeah. It is a very important document. We did invite EDC to come to the council meeting, but they said the roadshow tonight was effectively their consultation with us and other districts, other parishes, which is slightly disappointing. But I think are we suggesting then that we have an extraordinary meeting just to focus on this?
I would like to.
It is an immensely important document.
I think the CEO did suggest the 21st, the 21st was an extraordinary meeting.
I think that clashes with another
Yeah, it
meeting.
does, actually, Finance and General Purposes Committee is on 21st.
So shall we recommend that we have a meeting before the 9th of December, an extraordinary meeting to discuss this alone, and that we bring all our comments to that meeting?
Definitely.
How do you feel about this previous consultation response being updated?
Yeah, I think a lot of the structure's still
A lot of
there,
it's
isn't it?
still there.
Updating.
I mean, there's things like, I've been reading through the plan, it is a very long and but fairly straightforward document in some respects. What it proposes for Sandwich is 227 new homes over the period of the plan, plus maybe another 100 perhaps of windfall, what's called windfall developments, big employment changes. And for me, one of the big issues is the primary shopping area proposal, which I was talking to the DDC officer, and it would allow us to refuse conversion of ground floor residential to retail to residential within that primary area. So if that's the case, that would be a fairly strong, it wouldn't allow us to convert ones that have already gone to residential back, but it certainly would give some protection to existing retail. So it's those kind of things, I think, are the main items for discussion that we might need to update this document indeed. I think we will. So, should we recommend to council that?
Yes,
Yes, I'd like to make a suggestion that, taking what we responded to before, that we should have that annotated with anything that has changed with the new proposals, so that we can see what's different and see what we need to add to it, what we might want to say. And perhaps maybe there were a lot of people in Sandwich today who went to see it, so there might be comments from people I know. I spoke to some people that if they had anything particular they wanted to say, to let me know, so I could put it forward for consideration in our response.
What about if this draft from before was sent out by the Chief Executive to all councillors?
Yes.
Asking for comments and updates or amendments, and then the Chief Executive can maybe put together a kind of consensual view, if you like, of changes.
But we need someone also to go through it with what the specific changes are, because we can't object to something but not a change, so we have to be sure that we've got that right.
Because I think a lot of people are worried about Dover Road, aren't they, where the allocation was for the swimming pool, and I think it's caused a lot of hassle, a lot of people, because they want to just use it for housing now, don't they?
Structure's low as well.
Structure's low.
Okay, so the proposal is that we request council to arrange an extraordinary meeting prior to the 9th of December, and that the Chief Executive send out this previous response to the draft to all councillors, asking for any additions, updates, amendments or comments, so that a kind of consensual document can be presented to that extraordinary meeting. So that's approved.
Next full council meeting is on Monday the 28th, so could we pencil in a date for the 5th of December? Is that too late?
Really?
Monday the 5th.
No.
Monday the 5th of December. We can propose it.
I'm away at that, I'm not a council meeting that night, is it? I won't be here. I don't have to be here, do I?
You don't have to.
I'll be in Brighton, so. Important, well, it says choosing day for the deputy, so I'll be in Brighton. We did used to have to dash back, I have done it before, but they said if anything happens, we were dashing back from Brighton, see, because everything's at lunchtime, to get here for a 7 o'clock meeting, they said no, it's just not worth the risk. So we never have a council meeting, you can always have an extraordinary meeting on that night.
Doesn't have to be a Monday. I think if we maybe canvass dates for that, I think probably the 6th or 7th is the very latest it should be. Definitely. In order to get
We want to leave it anyway, so the 5th, to be honest.
the 5th, Okay, so the proposal is, as I said before, that we arrange an extraordinary meeting by the 5th or 6th perhaps of December, and that the Chief Executive sends this previous document out to all councillors asking for track changes or updates, and to the co-optees as well. their bodies. Is that approved?
Yeah, that's fine.
You agree with that? Seconded? Yeah, okay, that's approved. Good. Item 8 is neighbourhood plan. To receive and consider the Good Councillor's Guide to Neighbourhood Planning and how to shape where you live, a guide to neighbourhood planning. To discuss and consider a neighbourhood plan for Sandwich. I mean, this has been on the agenda for a long, long time. I think my view is coming to the conclusion that this is just too much work for the town. We would have to lead on this, and I think there's just so much else going on at the moment. Plus, I think the new local plan, as it stands, gives the kind of protections for retail to residential, for example, which I'm concerned about, and other protections and developments are all listed there. So I don't know how much a neighbourhood plan would add value to our planning.
I could just tell you actually, because thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had a word with the DDC officers tonight, and I posed to them. I said, if we go ahead with a neighbourhood plan in Sandwich, what effect would that have on the Dover District local plan that's being looked at the moment? And they said, of course, it wouldn't have any effect whatsoever. They said your neighbourhood plan could not reduce the number of houses that are in the Dover District local plan. You could only propose to put more houses in your neighbourhood plan. And they said, they did say themselves, and these are the experts, that it is a very, very large undertaking. There is help from both financial and officer support from Dover District Council. But when I was a Dover District Councillor myself, I sat in on the meetings for Worth, and Worth was seen as a model, and I think it took about 18 months to actually undertake the neighbourhood plan at Worth, and they had help from consultants, and some of the committee were actually a bit of a tagline, we're working on Christmas Day in order to get it ready for submission. So, but it's a massive undertaking, so you need to have a very dedicated working group or committee set up to do it, and no changes. So you couldn't start it before 4th of May next year anyway.
And you would need officer time as well. I mean, this is not something councillors can do on their own. You need expertise. I was very worried that when we thought we were doing this, because it is a massive bit of work, I would like to know the cost benefit analysis, what Worth and what Ash actually think of theirs, if it was worth doing. I do know one person, Ash, said never again. And I am not convinced it would add any value at all. So I'd be something maybe to review in the future, but not to go ahead with it at the moment.
We did look at this a couple of years ago, and we looked at Ash, didn't we? And the amount of time involved, we just decided not to go ahead with it.
I mean, Ash, I spoke to them just now, Ash has 136 homes in their neighbourhood plan for the next 25, 30 years. No, is it till 2040? So what they said is that the neighbourhood plan has chosen those sites. If they hadn't chosen those sites, then the strategic sites would have kicked in where the DDC effectively identify the sites. So I suppose that's the benefit, is that we would identify sites rather than the...
Yeah.
But, you know, is it worth the
It's
effort?
not worth it all, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's so expensive as well.
So is there a resolution that we...
Money.
We don't know.
Is there a resolution that... Councillor Friend, do you have a view on this?
Yeah, I mean, we've discussed the neighbourhood plan lots of times, and a lot of our aims and ambitions have been covered by the new policy documents for the local plan, so it would seem a very long, laborious, expensive undertaking to achieve what we're effectively getting anyway.
So do we have a proposal that we defer this for now? Or
Yeah, I propose that we defer this for the time being.
we keep it under review, obviously, in case things change.
Review it, say in a year's time.
Second it? All in favour? Okay, Caroline. Yeah, okay. Good, thank you. Number 9, street furniture application. To receive and consider any applications made to DDC in relation to street furniture consent application under the Local Government Act 1982. Any? Have there been any
No,
applications?
no applications.
No, okay. 10 licenses.
Again,
Sorry.
sorry, Chair, can I just ask, under street furniture, does that include A-walls? No, because we have them back again littered around town, and they do stop people walking on pavements, and they're not in the right places. And I don't think any of them, or very few of them, have licences. It's the question why. That's why I was asking what can be done. If we have to wait for someone to come put it onto a report like this, where do we go with that? There's a lot of complaints
Is that a
about
matter
it.
for planning enforcement?
Yeah. Can we ask Councillor Frame to take that back to the District Council?
A-boards come under KCC's
Yeah,
responsibility,
okay.
and the
What about
difficulty
the
with the
community
A-board,
warden then, who's here?
the difficulty with the A-board, the licensing used to be done a lot differently. You used to have to prove insurance, you used to have to apply through quite a laborious process, whereas now it's a A4 sheet of paper that you download from KCC to basically confirm that you have agreed to the terms and conditions of A-boards, and you have to keep that on the premises and submit it to them. What I can do is I'll liaise with the Streetworks team and see how many properties in Sandwich, businesses in Sandwich have actually undertaken that submission, and see if we can move forward from there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is that agreed? Yeah. Thanks. 10 licensing, to consider any licensing notices and issues received from DDC.
No.
No. 11 enforcement, to consider any enforcement notices and issues received from Dover District Council. No. Correspondence. Number 12, to receive and consider correspondence notification of any appeals against refusal of a householder application. We have one case here, planning appeal reference APP/W/22/22/33033230. Appeal start date 10/10/22. Land at Archers Low Farm, Sandown Road, Sandwich, CT 139NU. Erection of 44 dwellings with associated access, parking, open space, landscaping, drainage and infrastructure. And that's planning appeal. I think the hearing is in January. We will be attending that meeting, but people have been encouraged to go straight to the planning inspector's website to make any comments.
Thank you. We objected very strongly to it last time. I think we had very good sound objections in planning terms. The District Council agreed with them, and I see Councillor Frank has his hand up as well. So I think we just have to reiterate them. A note in the new local plan that they are proposing 35 houses for that site, which I think we should fight as well, because I don't think it is an appropriate site. It was thrown out at the previous local plan. So I think we just repeat our objections, is my view, and strongly, because I think it's very important that people in Sandwich should know that even though we might not be listening, that they know that we are fighting on their behalf to try and prevent this going ahead.
Yeah, if council is minded to support the objection, maybe the committee would be open to delegating the response to the Chief Executive Officer in conjunction with myself and Councillor Wiles to make the very specific points that we need to make to back up the refusal by DDC.
I'm happy to propose that motion.
Second.
Yeah, I'll second that.
So the proposal is that Councillor Friend and myself, with the Chief Executive, draft a response on behalf of this committee strongly objecting to against the appeal, if you like, whatever the wording is. And that within the local plan submission we strongly object to it as well. I did speak to the DDC officers earlier and said there's huge local opposition to this site, and I said would it be withdrawn from the local plan, and they obviously couldn't give an answer, but they're aware of the opinion locally.
I still cannot see what has changed from the previous local plan to this one, when it was thrown out by the inspector and all suitable. So.
I'd like to just update the committee chair, if you like. When we had the Kumar Nursery in Dover Road, we had an initial a planning application which we thought, myself and a pressure group from Dover Road actually thought the initial application, which we won because Dover District officers supported us on that time. The developer called in the inspector, appealed against it, and the government inspector came in, and the government inspector actually voted against the development going ahead, and he said it shouldn't go ahead. But unfortunately the developers put in a subsequent planning application taking into consideration the issues that the planning inspectorates had noted, and unfortunately it got supported by KCC and DDC, so it went through. So we lost our fight in Dover Road, and we're suffering the consequences now. We've got quite a large number of issues, social and social behaviour and all sorts of things from the site, and we've noticed in the last week the runoff of the water is causing localised flooding in Dover Road. So
Can I ask a question? If it does get down that site, you've got 45 houses that are already in the local plan. So does that mean that that DBC will have to find another site to fulfil our requirement for housing in and around Salmon?
No, they were extras, weren't they?
Sorry?
They were extras, they're not part of the
I don't know, so saying it was in that local plan. so that's-
35,000.
35 and it's 44 that's been appealed.
So, you would, Councillor Francis?
Just in terms of the Regulation 19 submission, there are housing provision in excess of the government requirement, so there is latitude for sites to be deleted by the inspectorate and are still to comply with the quota.
Okay. So is that okay, Caroline? Okay, shall we move on?
yes, please.
13, update from District Council on matters directly related to the Planning Committee. Just to say at the beginning, the terms of reference, we need to tweak at the November Council meeting just to make clear it's Sandwich District Council and not a District Council, as a council friend can be recognised. Nothing to look at. 14 decisions to note Dover District Council planning decisions listed below. I mean, I'm not intending to read all these out unless you want me to. Are you happy to note?
Agreed as seen. Agreed as seen, yeah.
Okay, so we note those? Yeah, nothing arising from those. Okay.
Could I just also give thanks to our clerk Caroline for the comprehensive way she's put this over to us as well, including the code list.
The code list is very useful because I'm always confused.
Yeah, the way that we receive it now is very efficient and very best option we've had ever.
Yeah, good. So they're all noted. Thank you. 15, date and time of next meeting, Wednesday the 7th of December 22 at 6:30 p.m. Thank you very much for your contributions. See you soon.